Suspended Laerskool Schweizer-Reneke teacher Elana Buckhazen has turned to the Labour courts to challenge her suspension. Buckhazen argues she was suspended unlawfully. She has also said in a written affidavit that she discussed her approach to seating arrangements with the parents before schooling commenced. Teachers Union SA Onderwysers-Reneke has backed her, saying the seating arrangement is widely accepted educational practice. For more on this, I'm joined by the CEO of the SAO, Chris Klopper. Chris, good evening. Thanks very much for your time. In the little time that we have, I'm going to ask you to please indulge me and also help me understand your point of view. First of all, you've released quite a number of statements over the past couple of days, and in one of them you say that the photograph was allegedly taken at the school, but I thought that was beyond any doubt that the school was in fact taken from the school.
Our understanding is that the photo was taken at the school. It was a photo that is part of a series of photos, and we've checked the date and the timestamps on those photos. So in our opinion, it is beyond doubt a photo that was taken at the school. And it was a photo taken by Ms. Buckhazen herself. So
it was taken at the school. So there's no need then to say it was allegedly taken at the school.
No, it's not. It's not necessary to say it in that, let's say, in legal terms. Mm-hmm. At this stage, we are convinced that it was taken at the school, and I think she has admitted that as well.
Yes. Now, you then go further to say you will never endorse or attempt to defend racial discrimination. Now, I'm not for a second going to suggest to you that those of us who have been subjected to racism before know how racism is practiced better than anybody. But to a black person who has been in similar situations before, the sight of that photograph could have elicited a lot of thinking and responses and reflecting, and for many people it was something they immediately didn't like. Do you at least understand that part?
I can understand that, but I think it's also necessary to understand, and I'm pleading for an objective understanding of the practicalities that take place in the classroom. And in this case there were young learners who didn't understand English and Afrikaans, and the understanding was that they are placed initially together so that they are comfortable, that they feel that they can familiarize themselves. And if you look at the photos that followed that initial photo, you will see that there's a complete integration of learners. And I think that is also confirmed by at least 2 videos that I've seen of black parents that have testified to that particular fact.
And I'm sure after this incident came to the fore, you will have also seen and heard quite a number of other incidents where people were showing how children of the same age as those we saw in that photograph, on their first days at school, integrating perfectly well with their peers.
That is always the ideal situation, to get integration as quickly as possible. And in this particular case, my understanding is that it was an initial arrangement, understanding that was reached with the parents, and it's a practice that has been done before in that particular class, and the parents feel comfortable with it. And my understanding also is that it may be something that's taken out of context and blown out of proportion, but that is why we've also undertaken to go back to our members on a larger scale and just make them attentive to the fact that there has to be sensitivity, that they have to exercise political wisdom, and we are sure that there's no deliberate attempt to commit any form of racism, and in this particular case we are convinced of that.
But parents may well agree, because they think that whatever is being done by the teacher who is in a position of authority will be good for the child, but that isn't necessarily the case. To what extent, therefore, are you prepared to accept a possibility at least that that school may not have gone far enough to ensure that their own systems speak to the kind of ideal environment or South Africa we would like our children to live in? In other words, have they put into their preparatory work the kinds of systems that would ensure that children from the background, from disadvantaged backgrounds and who can't speak Afrikaans can be fairly easily integrated even on the first day of school? Is that not a possibility, that they may not have done enough to do exactly that, to ensure that those children get integrated from the very first day?
Well, the photos that I've seen that span over a period of 10, 15 minutes show that there is integration in that particular class, and we do not accept the argument that is raised by some commentators to say it's a manipulation of the photos. We are convinced, and we accept the bona fides of our members in that regard, to say that there was no deliberate attempt to commit any form of racism. It's a practical measure, and that that was something that was done at that particular moment in time, but later on there was full integration. And I think that particular school has a record of good integration. And it's necessary to emphasize the point that it is a practical measure that was taken. There was no deliberate attempt to commit any racism, and it was just a matter of a moment in time in that particular classroom that is taken out of context.
Okay. Now, you believe that Ms. Barkhuizen has been treated unfairly. Tell us why you believe so.
Well, first of all, the MEC, he declared to all and sundry that she is now regarded as suspended. He is not the employer of Ms. Barkhuizen. The governing body is the employer of Ms. Barkhuizen. And in normal practice and in normal, let's say, orderly labor law, in the case of a suspension, you would first of all say if there's an immediate suspension, you would give the person a letter stating why that particular person is going to be suspended and what the terms of the suspension would be. And then another case it would be that we give you a letter as the employer to say that we intend to suspend you. You are now free to give us reasons why we should not suspend you. And she was never afforded the opportunity at any stage to state her case. It was a question of intimidation, victimization that took place. And to a large extent, you know, she was actually just bulldozed, and that's why she fled the town.
And that's what you're referring to, I would imagine, when you say that in one of your statements, this smacks of, and I quote, political opportunism and abuse of power.
Well, I'm convinced that the MEC, and also from the testimony that was given to me yesterday, in the manner that he spoke to people, it was disrespectful. He never gave them an opportunity to state their case. And it was a question of him laying down the law as a politician. And it wasn't a question of the employer coming to speak to his employees. And we would have understood, you know, that a caring employer that has the duty to care, that acts as the bonus pater familias, you know, that such an employer would also listen to the case of an employee, listen to it in an even-handed manner, and then take a decision, and not to act on the spur of the moment.
Okay. Now, before I let you go, you are also saying that consultations with your legal team have already taken place and appropriate processes will be implemented. Can you take us through what we can expect next?
Well, we've heard that the MEC that is promised that there will be further suspensions. We intend to contest it, and we are sending our legal team to Schweizer-Reneke tomorrow and on Saturday, and they will consult with our members there. They will get all their court papers in place, and in the event that the suspension is made formal, we will then act accordingly. And in all probability, we will approach the Labour Court to say that the principle of hearing the other side's case was not attended to in this particular case. And therefore, we are prepared, and we are prepared to take it to the extreme.
Would that include the possibility of a solidarity strike?
I can't speak on behalf of Solidarity. I'm the Suid-Afrikaanse Onderwysersunie, South African Teachers
No, I
Union.
mean in the most generic
They must
term,
take their own decisions.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean Solidarity, the organization. I meant in solidarity with Ms. Bakhuizen.
No, sir. That would actually entail an unprotected strike, and the employer would be entitled to dismiss employees who participate in such a strike. And we would never be so irresponsible to take our members just out on a strike just to prove a point like that. That's not part of our reputation. We will follow the legal procedures, we will do it lawfully, and we will abide by what the law determines.
Mr. Klopper, thanks very much for your time this evening.